because we had such a great conversation last week. We had to bring him back. So he's back. Yes, I put up the book. It's going to do that motion across the thing. Yes, I put the book up. He is back. Our own, that's what I said it, our own Dr. Eddie M. Connor Jr. is in studio with me. So I'm going to introduce a new segment. We had a conversation about it yesterday. I thought it was great. So get ready because we're going to go to a break. But when we come back, you're going to have coffee and tea with Colette and Eddie. How do you like that? Pretty good? And we're going to talk about all of it because you know he has an amazing insight into things and an intellect. And I promise you we're going to be able to correlate that back to his latest work. Good morning, everyone. Rise and shine. So we have an addendum to this thing. It was Coffee and Conversation with Colette. It is now Coffee and tea with Colette and Eddie.
Wow.
Nice. So you really are considered a guest right now. You're like a co-host.
Now I'm a co-host?
You're a co-host? Yeah.
Wow.
How does that feel?
Wow. That feels good.
It's working well?
It's
You're
resonating.
You got your tea.
I got my tea. Green tea
and honey.
That's how I like it.
You know, that's what it is. We want you to be comfortable. That's what's important to me, you know, to enable you to start your day and get everything going. So you're happy now?
I'm
You
happy.
can give us some feedback.
I got
Hi, Dr. Connor.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
We're so happy to have you back.
Appreciate it.
I mean, my phones blew up last week after your kindness and sitting down with us as we preempted this wonderful book.
Right.
It is not even a book. Forgive me. It's a work. It's a work of art.
Yeah.
Intellect is a work of art. People don't really understand that, but this is a work of art. So before we get into, because I kind of left, you know what? Do I need to read the statement again? This was a quote from Niccolo Machiavelli. Did you all know that? Did you catch that? I'm kind of feeling Machiavelli-ish lately. So I gave the quote. I'm going to read it again because I want you to comment on it. Okay? Here we go. People are of three kinds. One is capable of thinking for itself. Another is able to understand the thinking of others. And a third can neither think for itself nor understand the thinking of others. The first is of the highest excellence. The second is excellent, and the third is worthless.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
That's some serious food for thought.
Okay, good.
You know, it goes to the whole aspect of what I heard someone say, you know, people listen on three wavelengths, and basically how you're listening is also dependent on how you're thinking. And that is, people listen to people based on who said it,
okay,
why it was, how it was said.
Okay.
But the highest level of listener is contingent upon what was said. Not who said it, not how it was said, but what was said.
What was said. So, depending on what is said, that will engage us. Well, that determines how we engage.
Absolutely.
Because if I like what you say, then I'm going to listen versus hear.
Right. And listening is not waiting to talk.
Right. And that, can you just say that? Do you all experience that? Like, so you know you're talking, and then you've had this conversation, like, you're not listening
Right,
to
you're
me.
not listening. You were just waiting to jump in.
You're just waiting to jump in.
Right, this was double
What
dutch.
I'm going to say. Right.
Double dutch the conversation.
Absolutely. Come on now. I'm going old school back to Philly. Shout out to everybody in Philly.
There we go.
Come on now. Double Dutch.
Absolutely.
So you didn't even really care what I was saying.
No,
I could have said
no.
the cat in the hat, like Dr. Seuss. You're like, and you're waiting to jump in.
Right.
Wow.
And so it goes back to the fact of, you know, the minds are of three kinds. As Dr. King said, one of the most painful things for most people to do is have to think.
God, it's too early.
Because now
it's too early for this,
when you have to think, you have to engage really in the fierce urgency of now, but you have to engage the mental parameters of your thinking. And oftentimes that's painful because now you have to be real with you, as you having a conversation with yourself. And as you really looking at your flaws, looking at frailties, but also holding yourself to a higher standard. Am I living my best life? Why not? It ain't contingent upon my haters.
Right.
My haters are my elevators. Now
Right.
it's about me.
Me.
Right.
In me.
Right. The only person who can stop you is you.
Did you all get that
Yeah.
now? So literally, you can just drop the mic and just walk away on today. So that is the essence of the conversation because you block you.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
So in the midst of everything that's going on, I'm gonna give word. You know, I like the word game.
Oh.
Okay.
That's your.
That's
your
my thing. That's my thing because I know that you think, and so here we go. I'm gonna put some things out for you. State of the I was going to say the union. We talked about that. State of the state, Governor Snyder. What are you thinking, Connor?
I was watching that intently. That was must-see TV for me.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I knew what I was gonna. I pretty much thought about what was gonna come. And,
you did?
And it was not surprised at all. Passing the buck, blame shifting, and of course, the apology to save face.
Okay.
But when you think about the ramifications of what has happened, from the school system to the water system, an apology is just not enough.
Okay.
To have this in place, and not just as it just emanated and germinated in 2016, but also how the infrastructure was set up even over a year ago is when this was really coming to fruition.
Right.
You got to put people's feet to the fire. An apology, our people need more than just an apology.
Okay.
And so, if that calls for removal from office and holding these people who are leaders at a higher standard, it's just what it is environmental racism. Is this 1966 or is it 2016?
You know what? And I saw a post. You need to stay on that. Let me just tell you, if anyone follows him, and you should follow him on Instagram, he has a wonderful picture, if you will, and it has this beautiful crafted water fountain, and the water is just clear and it's flowing out, and under it says what? White. And then it has the kind of old, it was an old kind of dilapidated bowl, like the old porcelain, where it has just the steel hook, and then the water coming out was totally brown, like dirt.
Right.
And then it said what?
Colored. And it really is a colored water fountain.
Come on, go there.
With the brown, with the lead coming out of it, with all the corrosion that has been seeping through the pipes or just the faucets, things of that nature. People can't bathe. People can't cook their food appropriately. People can't drink the water.
That's right.
And it's just ironic that we live in a Great Lake state. And I learned my Great Lakes through the acronym HOMES.
Okay.
Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior, but people are treated inferior.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? And so, really, like I was saying, the message has changed, but the methods remain the same. And that is another level of racism.
Okay.
That is environmental racism. People who are black, people who are impoverished, are at a crux. It's a incredible crisis going on, and outside of just bringing water, now we need to reform. We need to transform the infrastructure. Or this is going to continue to happen.
I don't think we want change. I don't think that I think we want to complain, but I don't think we want the action associated with it.
And I believe that's definitely very true, and really in commonality with that, I believe it's apathy. People are apathetic to what is going on. They become desensitized, and as they become desensitized, they become disillusioned with the whole system. With oftentimes people feeling that they have no power to change the aspect of somebody who may apply for a job, who is black, has a degree, a doctorate degree or a master's or whatever the case may be, but the person who is white and may just have a high school diploma is still in many cases oftentimes preferred over the black person who has all of the credentials.
That is true.
And so when we think about just the various degrees of racism, as Dr. Cornel West says, race matters. Even though that book is dated, it still is up to date. Because of what we're continually seeing exacerbated in the community. And we have to ask ourselves the question, is there not a cause to be able to engage in our community? We can't just sit back and just relax and just watch the 6 o'clock news and just go to sleep. And I'm just worried about mine and me and mine. But I have to engage in the fierce urgency of now, what can I do to contribute to use my gifts to uplift somebody else? And that is standing not on the sidelines, but oftentimes engaging on the front lines.
So question, front line, another phrase, President Obama. In Michigan, Detroit specific, yesterday. Did he do enough? Did he say enough?
I didn't really hear much. I was driving in. I heard a little something on WWJ. That he was making an inference about if his family or if his people lived in Flint. He'd be beside himself, I believe were his words. And we put a lot of onus on the president, and as he called it, he said this is not a natural disaster at all.
Come on.
This is a man-made disaster. So don't expect me to empty my bank for your mistakes that you saw and that you perpetuated against the people.
Come on.
So really the people that we have to hold their feet to the fire, those in Lansing, those who are on the state as well as the local government level. We got to hold them accountable.
That's right.
And the president, kind enough to even give us a dime when we ought to bail ourselves out. The disenchantment, because people see that there's nothing going on in the judicial system. People see that there's nothing taking place. People have seats, but they're not doing anything with it. In the electorate, the aspect of those who are voted or who are placed in to be leaders. And so, as a person who's even a millennial, we become disenchanted with the system.
Bingo. So speak on that. Yes, please.
Become disenchanted with the system. And so a segmentary type of aspect to where we see some level of freedom still have been blinded by aspects that have caused the halt in that. And so you talk about protests, you talk about most people, which they will not oftentimes engage in, is economic withdrawal, is what Dr. King suggested in his final speech, which will bring certain corporations, bring the system to its knees. Yes, Black Lives Matter, but guess what? More than that, sadly, green dollars matter.
There is nothing more difficult to carry out, nor more doubtful of success, nor more dangerous to handle than to initiate a new order of things. So we will ride out with the status quo forever, huh? I mean, we'll just ride it out. We'll just say, okay, because it's just injustice, and that's just how they treat us, and this is who they are. And that's just it. Like forever. So when you have children and they grow up and they're adults and thriving with families, it'll be the same conversation?
Sadly enough, I hope it's not. But that begins on what we do with today, and that the key words that you mentioned are new and order. People are, afraid to take a step and do something new, and also order. We're so used to disorder and disunity that sometimes disorder and disunity becomes the new norm.
The new norm.
Right.
Kind of. Did you just say that?
That the old way of thinking is the new norm. Oftentimes. Why don't we create our own? Like we've always done. We opened up our own businesses. We opened up our own cleaners. We opened up our own stores. We opened up our own restaurants. We created our own Black Bottom. Why don't we create the top Black actors award show?
Come on.
Why don't we do it? Instead of waiting for people to acknowledge us.
Thank you.
God already validated you. Why are you waiting for somebody else's approval?
Come on.
Come together as a people. We're the best at whatever we do, whenever we step out and do it.
And anything.
And let's make this the best one. We don't need the approval of others. So it's really as you said, a moot point. We know what to do. We have the money. The top Black actors have the money to create it.
Yes.
All we have to do is do it.
You just put out there, Eddie, that you are a millennial. So, I mean, is that what the energy is in your peer group? That people are just like, oh, it is what it is?
Of course, there's a segment that, and oftentimes many of them may feel that way because they've seen how things have gone. You talk about Freddie Gray, you talk about Michael Brown, you look at what is going on across the country in various Black communities, especially dealings with the police, and there's been no justice. And so when you see a segment of people receiving no justice, it makes you say, well, guess what? Even if my efforts are out there, it doesn't seem like anything is going to happen and transpire. And so one thing that we have to do is continue to push through regardless. And that's why, I don't think it's just millennials. We also need the X generation. We also need those who have come before us to all come together. So it's got to be an intergenerational transfer of wealth and wisdom to where we're learning and hearing from other minds who are older than us, who have more knowledge, who have been where we have not been. And so I believe when you bring all of those top entities together, my specialty is not in law. It's not in litigation, but somebody else's is. Can we bring those top minds together, the talented 10th,
Literally.
to help out the 90 of society,
Right.
as W.B. Du Bois suggested? When we can do that and bring that to the table and come up with a strategy, this is what we can do for the litigation aspect in this country. This is what we can do with those who are community activists.
Yes.
This is what we can do for those who may be in another arena, the education system.
Yes.
When we can bring those specific entities together and have a think tank
Think.
that comes out with strategies
Yes.
to implement, that's when we can speak truth to power, but also bring transformative change.
And so, our time is up. This is ridiculous,
Come
right?
on.
So I'm going to give you the last callers, and I see you all. Thank you so much. You know what, Eddie, I'm going to have you back. This is just amazing because we're going to miss
it.
them, but
I need a refill on my tea.
I got you. I can do this. So on the last, was a major motivation for My Brother's Keeper?
Absolutely the major
Okay.
motivation.
I'm going to let you sum that up then for us
Yes,
today.
absolutely. When you think about the human condition, when you think about, as what Dr. King suggested, we'll either live together as brothers or perish together as fools.
Okay.
As what Malcolm X suggested, no man can give you anything, freedom, justice, or equality. If you're a man, take it. What Frederick Douglass said, if we build strong boys, we won't have to repair broken men.
Yeah.
And so we look at the segmented, fractured places of society, and it's really a call to really address the human condition, not just speaking about the problem, but implementing solution-oriented
Yes.
strategies
Yes.
to get to the top. So this book wanted to address many of the issues, whether it be in the religious sector, the educational sector, the judicial system, in our dealings with each other and the black community as well. And it's a book that you have to get if you're a pastor, if you're a mentor, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent,
Yeah.
if you're a leader, if you just care about the least of these, the left out, the overlooked, underserved, and underrepresented. I need you to get this book in your hand right now. You can go to my website.
Yes,
The revolution won't be televised.
It'll be?
Well, it will be televised on this show, on
this one,
WHPR.
come on, TV.
But it'll also be digitized.
Yeah.
Go to eddieconnor.com, EDDIECONNOR.com. Proceeds from this book go to my mentoring program, Boys to Books, to empower our men and our boys for greatness.
That's what we need. Coffee and Conversation with Colette, special edition, coffee and tea with Colette and Eddie.
I love it. I love
Eddie
it.
might be back next week,
I love it.
I'm going to do my part. But we see, you got to get the book so we can have the conversation.
Yeah.
Have an amazing day. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next week.